Hey everybody, it's 100 Visions Guy, and this is my CodePen. I'm working on a Guess My Number game using JavaScript, and I do this for my web design class, but you're all welcome to join in and follow along as I go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did to get this far, and so I'm going to put it in editor mode. The first thing I did is I created a new pen. I called it Guess My Number. And then I went in, and one of the things I do on every one of my code pens is in the stuff for head, I always click that insert the most common viewport meta tag. Let me zoom out a bit. And then that puts this tag here. This is just something I do on all of them because I like responsive design. It's one of the ways to make your design more responsive. I went to CSS, and I scrolled down and I added Bootstrap. Not only did this because I wanted to have some style, and I didn't want to go through the process of doing it because for me, this is all about the programming of the Guess My Number game. It's not about the style. But I added Twitter Bootstrap 4.1.3, and I just did it by typing Bootstrap, and I saw Twitter Bootstrap, and it was version 4, so I've been using that, so I figured, let's just use it. Then I went to JavaScript, and I did add jQuery. Now, in a future tutorial, maybe I'll do this all entirely in JavaScript and show you how I did it. But I did jQuery. And we're going to talk about jQuery as we program this. Now, let's take a look at the HTML to see what we got here. Okay, pretty straightforward. I have a div with class of container. The only reason why I did that is then when I go into full screen mode, you see my content it's sort of centered, and I got little left-hand, right-hand side margin. It's just good for design if you're using Bootstrap. And I'm not saying you have to use Bootstrap. I'm not saying it's the most awesome thing ever since whatever. It's just what I'm using. H1, Guess My Number. Paragraph gives me just the instructions, basically. And then we have a div tag that has an input and a button, and they go together. One is to enter a number, the other is to guess. You will notice that the input type is a number. Anyways, it's type a number ID equals guess. I had a little placeholder that gives a little prompt there. We have a button. And the big thing here for the input and the button is that they both have an ID. This ID allows us to get or target and add some programmatic functionality to those elements. So the input is going to be when the user types their guess, that's where they're going to enter it. So we need to be able to grab that information. And so we grab it by using the ID of guess. And then the guess button, we just call it guess button for lack of a better term. We added a class of BTN and BTN info, to give a little color there. And then I have a paragraph which you can't see because there's no content inside of it, but I gave it an ID of feedback, and our JavaScript is going to give us feedback as you enter in numbers. And then we have a paragraph with a button inside of it. Now, I wrapped this in a paragraph. I had my students asking that because I just wanted to make sure it appeared under everything else. And that was one good way to do it. I like putting it in a paragraph better than putting it in a break. You'll also notice that the input and the button are sandwiched by a div. And this is just standard HTML. Plus, if I want to style this a little bit later, I can do that. I'm not going to now. I'm just going to leave it like it is. All right, and that's how I set it. The only last thing here is the paragraph that has nothing in it has an ID of feedback, and the bottom button has an ID of new game. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing what's called event-driven programming. And so we're going to base it on events, and we're going to use jQuery for that. So the algorithm, basically, is that the user, when they click the guess button, it's going to grab the information in here, store it in a variable called guess, and it's going to compare. Oh, but before I even do that, we have to generate a random number. And in that random number, we're going to compare that number. Now, it has to be a whole number between 1 and 100. And then the user's going to guess a number, and then it's going to tell you high or low or whatever. And then if you were to click New Game, it would pick a new random number and start all over. So that's how we're going to program it. So it's always good to talk about how you're going to do stuff. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to put a little comment here and pick a number between 1 and 100. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to set a click handler for guess bud. Okay. And then we're going to set a click handler or an event handler. They go hand in hand for new game. And I don't remember, did I give it an ID of new game? Yep. It's a good idea to note all your IDs. Okay, that'll help. It's also good, I like to put my comments first because then it means I'm planning. All right, so what we're gonna do is, let's do a quick thing here. We're gonna use a JavaScript alert in a moment, but I wanna get everything set up just right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a variable, var, and we're gonna put a number, and we're gonna set it equal to, now we're gonna pick a random number, so we're gonna use math.random, and then we're gonna just do this little thing here. I'm gonna put a comment here. We're gonna put alert. I'm gonna put the number is plus number. Now, why am I doing the comment first? Well, you'll see. Because in a CodePen, the moment you do a change to your document, now watch what happens, is pop-up shows up. So immediately we realize, okay, math.random doesn't do exactly what we wanted it to do. I knew that it was going to do this, but one thing you always want to do is test stuff out. Now I'm using an alert. It's the quickest way to test. So now, anytime we want to make a change, we're going to have to click OK and watch what happens. The moment I click in here, hit a space or something, if I wait too long, oh, good, it doesn't do that. Let's go back. Just going to hit Enter. There, triggered it. Notice every time I do any kind of a change, it picks a new number, okay? So we have to be careful about that, okay? So every time we make a change, and we click OK, so we click OK, and this is just the way JavaScript works. And it picks a new number. Now, you'll notice it's a number between 0 and 1. It will never include the actual number 1. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to move the decimal point 2 places over. So we're going to multiply by 100. We're going to click OK. We're going to do times 100. All right. Now when I click off of there, now it says the number is 5.111. Hit space, hit Enter. Now it's 41 points. So you see the idea here. Okay. So now we need to do a couple other steps here. A couple other steps we're going to do is we're going to get rid of everything after the decimal point. And then we're going to have to add one more number to it, and I'll show you in a moment. Okay, we're going to type number. Now, see what's happening? I type one letter, and it does that. So I'm going to click OK. Click here and do comments. There, now it won't happen. So now I'm going to write number equals math.floor, not floor, floor number. We're saying take the variable number and set it to the floor, which basically is like floor division, where it basically rounds down. And let's take the alert off to see how that comes across. Number's 46. Okay, so now we're getting whole numbers. And remember I told you it starts between 0 and 1, but it doesn't include 1. So if it says I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100, 0 shouldn't be added. So what we're going to do is after we multiply it by 100, we're going to add 1 to that. And look at that, the number is 2. So that would have been 1, right? So, and of course, we can play around with this stuff multiple times. But at this point, all right, we've got our number. I think we generated it correctly. You're going to want to test that at some point. But I think we're good on there. So we generated this number, right? And so at this point, it may be generating and regenerating. We're going to have to test this out in a moment. Let me do one quick. What we're going to do is before we work with all of our other code, before we do the click handlers, we're going to declare some variables. And so we're going to use var. And the other one, we're going to put guess equals 0. So we're going to say, all right, the user's going to guess a number. To begin with, you're just going to set it to 0. Okay, and we could have just said var guess. We didn't have to set the number. But I think it's a good idea to start with 0, and 0 will represent the fact that they haven't entered a number. So if they don't enter anything, guess will stay at 0, and it'll always be too low. Okay. If you wanted to, you could actually set the value inside of there to 0, but then you won't see the hint that says enter a number. We're also going to create output. Output equals, and we're going to go ahead and set this now. And we're going to add a little thing. I'm going to say you need to click the guess button. Okay. And I'm going to explain that in just a moment. Okay. The other thing we could do is we can target the paragraph that has feedback, and we can set it in just a moment. In fact, let's go ahead and do that now. Okay. So there's any number of ways we can do this. Now we're going to start doing jQuery for the first time. jQuery always begins with a $sign. It represents jQuery. Then we create a selector. We're going to do hashtag feedback. Like so. We're saying, all right, target feedback. And we're going to set the text to the output, like so. Notice output now says you need to click the guess button. All right, so now what we're going to do is create a click handler for the guess button. All right, and jQuery, we're going to target the guess button. That's hashtag guess dash button. Now we're going to click dot on what? So this is our click handler. So we're going to, in quotes, type click, and then we're going to put check guess checker. Oops. Okay. So then what we do is we identify a function that we're going to call for the guess button, click handler. Okay. Oh, but before we do that, I forgot one more thing. I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to paste it in just a moment. We're going to do this thing here. We're going to do, in here, we're going to write function, like so. Oh, wait, I did that wrong. All right, jQuery. So this is basically going to get run when the computer loads, okay? Notice we picked our number outside of the function, okay? And now we're going to paste what I just copied before. So in our function, let's just go ahead and... So in that function, we're going to do the on-click guess checker. And let's do a quick check handler. So we're going to write function guess checker, like so. Now we're going to say, what happens when we run the guess checker? So we're just going to write alert. You clicked button. Now you'll notice when I do this alert here, nothing's happening because I haven't clicked the button. Let's save my changes. It's always a good idea to save. And I'm going to click guess. Aha! Now, the fact that I clicked the button and it said you clicked the button means that this is working. Okay, my click handler works. So let's just talk about what we just did, and then we'll begin programming this. So function is basically waits till the whole page loads. And then we're basically saying take the guess button, and when we click it, call the guess checker function. Okay? And then a little bit later, we're going to do the same thing. And let's just go ahead and do this now. I'm going to just do on here, we're going to put new game dot on click comma new game semicolon. So we're going to create a function for the new game. And so we're just going to do a function, new game, parentheses, curly bracket. A couple things we're going to do. Well, actually, we're going to deal with that a little bit later. And I'm just going to do a little click, you clicked new game. I just want to test this out, make sure it's working. Save changes. Click new game, you clicked a new game, click guess, you click the button. We have our event handlers, our click handlers right here. Let's go ahead and drag this up all the way so you can kind of see what happened here. All right? So now this is how we do, this is I would say a good way to do a click handler. You basically target whatever it is you can click. Now this is interesting because you can actually do this on click for I think just about any element you want. You can even have the feedback have an on click when you click on the feedback one. Watch this. Type feedback. Okay. Click. Now new game does nothing, but when I click it, bam. Okay. So let's go back. Let's Control Z, new game. Okay. So you see the idea? Just pretty much any element you can target, and you target using hashtag. This hashtag is targeting anything with an ID. So when ID equals guest button here, ID equals new game. So when we click guest button, we're going to, on click, we're going to call the guest checker function. You just name the function, no parentheses here. Same thing goes for the click for new game. You just you run the new game function. These two functions are click handlers, and each one does a particular job. So I think it's time to do the guest checker. So, of course, what we're going to do is when we click guest checker, remember we had the guest variable, so we're going to put guest equals, and we're going to put on here, and we're going to go ahead and target the guest, and we're going to put dot val. And dot val means get the value of guess. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and do the next thing. If guess is greater than number. Okay? I'm going to affect the output. I'm going to put output equals that guess is too high. Please guess lower. Please and thank you is always a good, good way to go about here. After which, we're going to do the old set the text of feedback, hashtag feedback. And we're going to put dot text output, semicolon. Now, we're going to click guess. Then type 50. We're going to click guess. That guess is too high. Please guess. Oh, please guess again. Guess lower. There we go. Get a little feedback there. Okay. So now we're going to we're going to check the other one. We're going to say else if guess is less than number, output equals that guess is too low, please guess higher, semicolon, guess too low, guess higher, 75, too high, guess lower. Okay, so we don't know where the number is yet. And then I think every time we hit save, we're doing a new one. So let's go ahead and click save. All right. Now we're going to check to see if it's correct, right? Then we're going to do an else if, and I'll explain why in just a moment. Guess is equal to number. Output equals. That's correct. Way to go. Please click. Oh. Okay, let me just fix this a little bit. All right, we'll do an escape. Backslash. New game. Backslash. To play again. All right. Too low. 50. Too low. 75. Too high. So it's between 50 and 75. We'll do 57. That's correct. Way to go. Hey, it took me 3 guesses. That's pretty awesome. All right, right now, new game doesn't work, but we got all that working. Now, if it's a 0, actually, honestly, we can just leave it blank, right? Because I'm going to save this, and I'm going to hit refresh. And as you may have noticed, when there's no number there, guess is too low, please guess higher, okay? So no guess is too low, apparently. If you wanted to, you could try seeing if there is a different scenario. I'm just going to leave it this way for now. Okay, and so we got our feedback, we got all this going, and did I say I was going to explain? I think I explained everything I was going to. At this point, I already have ideas. First of all, we're running low on time, so I don't have enough time to really go over new game. But I'd like to do a couple cool features, taking advantage of some more Bootstrap features. There's a thing called an alert, and you can give it different classes will change the alert level. One of the things we could do is we can make it so you only have so many guesses to guess the number. And as you start running out of guesses, it will start going from green to red. So I might do green and then yellow and then red, and then something happens when you don't get it in time. Okay, so stay tuned for that, and I will be posting that hopefully within a week or so.